Hello, literarians. Welcome back to the Literary Lori YouTube channel. I'm Literary Lori, aka Lori L. Tharps, and if you love to read books or write books that center the lives of Black people and other people of color globally, then you are in the right place because I love those things too. And I created this YouTube channel to share my love of all the colorful bookish things and to document my journey going from being a journalist, journalism professor, and award-winning nonfiction author in the United States to being the type of girl who moves to the south of Spain so she could live a global literary life and write juicy novels. So I created this channel so I could document that journey because that's the journey I'm on right now. But this video is not about me. It is not about my journey. It is about my commitment to share the story of one incredible Black writer or author every single day in February because yes, it's Black History Month in the United States and Canada and Germany, but I like to celebrate Black Literary History Month in February because there are so many incredible Black writers born in February. So today, it's no different. We are on day 9, February 9th, and we have one of the GOATs today. We are talking about none other than Alice Walker. Yes, Alice Walker was born on this day, February 9th, and she's such a famous writer. She's also still very much alive. So for this video, rather than like doing a bio and everything, because her life is pretty well known, it's pretty very well documented, I thought I would do something a little different and do 9 facts that you might not know about Alice Walker. So I did a little digging, and again, I wanted to share things that maybe you didn't know about this incredible writer. Most of this is about her writing life, but there's a couple of just fun facts as well. So settle in and, maybe you can see how many of these you did know. How much of an Alice Walker fan are you really? So let's get into it. All right. So like I said, Alice Walker was born today, February 9th, 1944. Happy birthday, Alice. She was the 8th and final child of her parents. She was born the family was rather poor. Her father was a sharecropper. So just keep that in mind because it is relevant to the rest of the way these facts go. All right, so fact that you might not know, number 1 about Alice Walker. Alice Walker actually, I don't know if you know, she is actually blind in her right eye. And the accident that caused the blindness, she actually attributes that accident to making her the writer she is today. As the story goes, Alice was playing with her brother when she was 8 years old, and they were playing a game, and he accidentally shot her in the eye with an air rifle. I don't know enough about guns and rifles to know what that even is, but obviously it was an accident. They were just kids. Depending on which version of the story, one version, she said that, he didn't want her to tell, he didn't want to get in trouble, so she didn't say anything. One version was simply that they just, the driving to the hospital took too long. But regardless, the end result was the same. She didn't get to the doctor in time, so they couldn't save her eyesight. The fact that she was blind in her eye, it wasn't just that she was blind in her eye, it's that there was like serious scarring, so she felt herself to be disfigured. And while she healed and while, she thought that she looked weird because of this, she retreated into her books. She retreated into reading and writing, and that's what she said got her to become a really good student, again, because she was really bookish. And she credits that with saving her life in the sense that because she became so studious and so, loving of books, she eventually got a college scholarship, which got her out of her poor town in Georgia. So she actually had this quote where she said, quote, "Because of that accident, I got an education. Curtis, her brother, became a gangster." She said that I survived and I would have died if I had stayed there meaning in their small town in Georgia. Okay, that's fact number 1. Fact number 2, just a fun fact. Alice Walker's middle name is Malsignor. I don't know I hope I'm pronouncing it right, but it's Malsignor. Alice Malsignor Walker. That was her given name. All right, fun fact number 3. Did you know that despite feeling like an outsider and really becoming very bookish and being, ashamed of her Alice Walker was voted high school prom queen, and she was her class valedictorian. How's that for keeping people guessing? Prom queen and valedictorian of her senior class. All right, fact number 4. Alice Walker originally went to Spelman College, the historically black college for young women, but after 2 years, she transferred to Sarah Lawrence College, which is a PWI women's college in New York State, and it's from Sarah Lawrence that she graduated. Fun fact number 5, did you know that Alice Walker's first novel was The Third Life of Grange Copeland that was published in 1970, but her first book was actually a book of poetry, and that was called Once, and that was published in 1968. Fun fact number 6, Alice Walker won the Pulitzer Prize for The Color Purple the year that it was released in 1983. And actually, I think the book was released technically in 82. She won the Pulitzer in 83. That's how that usually works. But regardless, she won the Pulitzer Prize for The Color Purple in 1983. And now you might have known that, but did you know she also won the National Book Award? So she won the Pulitzer Prize for fiction, and that made her the first Black woman to ever win a Pulitzer for fiction. And again, the same year she won the National Book Award for fiction, which apparently, I'm like, wow, that's amazing. But it is a big deal to win the Pulitzer and the National Book Award in the same year. Same book, same award. That's super impressive. Ironically, however, The Color Purple is also one of the most frequently banned books in the United States. And now I'm going to however, over 5 million copies of The Color Purple have been sold. So this banning is obviously not stopping people from reading and buying The Color Purple as they should. Number 7, fun fact. Now, most of these facts, except for her middle name and the prom king one, I didn't know those. But here's one that I was shocked, and I feel like, how did I not know this? Did you know that The Color Purple is actually simply the first book of a trilogy? If you knew that fact, please let me know in the comments. I would like to hear who did know this. Yes, indeed, The Color Purple is actually book 1 of a trilogy. Book 2 is, do you know, The Temple of My Familiar? And that is a collection of interwoven stories from Celie and Shug's granddaughter who's living in modern day San Francisco. Okay, I love that. Who knew? I did not know. Now I got to go read these books. And the third book in the trilogy is Possessing the Secret of Joy. And that book is, the book that Tashi, who was a minor character, I think it's the African daughter of the sister, but it is her story. So Possessing the Secret of Joy is her story told in her words and the voices of the people who loved her. That's from the jacket copy from the Random House website. Okay, so if you didn't know, Color Purple is book 1 of a trilogy. All right, we are on fun fact number 8. Alice Walker is the person responsible for the current resurgence in love of Zora Neale Hurston. Now, in the circles I run in, I'm like, everybody knows that, but a lot of people don't know that. They don't know that Alice Walker had been a fan. There was 2 of Zora's books that she really liked, but Zora Neale Hurston died penniless and mostly forgotten. So she was so forgotten that when she died, in Pierce, I think it was called Fort Pierce, Florida. She had so little money and so few people around her to support her that she was buried in an unmarked grave. So in the early 70s, Alice Walker is like, this woman, like her work really meant a lot to me. She found some of her books and was like, where is she? Like, why don't people know about her? And she went at least to try to find her grave. And she told people that she was Zora's niece just so that she could get some access to documents and so on. And she eventually found the grave. Like, she found out what cemetery she was buried in and literally tripped in the with the grave where she was buried. And she said it was it was overgrown with weeds and it was totally disheveled. Obviously nobody had been there to take care of it. And she bought a grave to mark Zora Neale Hurston's final resting spot. And on the grave, she had it engraved where it said, Zora Neale Hurston, a genius of the South. And it has her birth date and death date. And then in 1975, Alice wrote an article in Ms. Magazine that was called In Search of Zora Neale Hurston. When that article came out, all these people read it and were like, wait, who is Zora Neale Hurston? And because Alice spoke so glowingly about her, other women started looking her up. This led to several biographies being written about her. This then led to, more excitement about her work, and 4 of her novels were republished at this point, and the rest is history. Now, today, we're having Zora Fest. People celebrate her birthday in Eatonville in January, and it really is because Alice Walker took the time to reintroduce the world to the genius of Zora Neale Hurston. So we all know and love Zora. We read about her, again, celebrate her because of Alice Walker. So thank you, Alice. And was that number 8? Yeah, that was number 8. So we're already at number 9. Number 9, the final fun fact, bet you didn't know, or maybe you did, is that Alice's only child, Rebecca Walker, is also an author. And not only is she a prolific author like her mother, she also writes fiction, nonfiction, and children's books, and has written 12 books. I didn't mention this in the front, but Alice Walker has written over 30 books. Fiction, nonfiction, children's books, essays, poetry, you name it, Alice Walker has written it. And she might still be writing more books. There might be still more books that come out of her. So the fact that her daughter is also a prolific writer and also an activist, as is Alice Walker, is pretty amazing. All right, so before I let you go, Alice Walker has a tremendous body of work. Again, she's still alive. You can still learn from her, learn about her, read her books. Again, she's written over 30. So, if you want to go through the whole catalog, you got a lot to do. But I did want to leave you with one bit of advice for my writers out there, because I promised that I would share, a literary lesson that you can take from these amazing writers. Because again, if you're going to take advice from a writer, take one from a successful writer. Alice Walker, by all means, there's no other way to say successful writer. Not only success because of the award she's won, but because her work is read and translated by so many people. She is definitely a global author, and she continues to challenge herself to write new types of work, right? She has written this kind of novel. She's written this bunch of poetry, this type of poetry, but then she has evolved and does different things. And that's how you have a career as a writer. So I thought it was appropriate to have a bit of advice from Alice Walker about the writing habit, how she maintains a writing habit, how she continues to write and produce so much. So she was interviewed for Writer's Digest magazine, and the question was, do you maintain a writing routine? And here's what she said. She said, for 3 decades, I wrote every morning, or I made the space, because part of writing is not so much that you're going to actually write something every day, but that you should have or need to have is the possibility. What you should have or need to have is the possibility, which means the space and the time set aside as if you are going to have someone to tea. If you are expecting someone to come to tea, but you're not going to be there, they may not come. And if I were them, I wouldn't come. So it's about receptivity and being home when your guest is expected, or even when you hope that they will come, unquote. I take this to mean, and I hope you understand this, that even if you don't get anything out on the page, you still have to set aside the time to write. You have to be ready to write for when inspiration strikes, or when you have the just the, you've put the time aside to be able to write. And it's the same thing that Victor Laval said, what almost all of the writers we've talked about so far. You have to give yourself the opportunity, the time, the discipline to do something every single day. And I like how she says, like, if you were expecting a guest over, but, or you invited a guest and you weren't there, the guest isn't going to come. If you want to be a writer and you want to get words out on the page, but you don't make time in your schedule to write, even like, you can say it and say it and say it, like, oh, I want to write. But if you don't give yourself the time to write, even if it's just 5 minutes a day, it's not going to happen. It's the regularity, the discipline, and the habit where good writing is built. So I hope that's helpful. I hope that's inspiring. And I hope that the life of Alice Malsignor Walker is inspiring to you in the diversity of the work that she does, that she puts out into the world, and the fact that she is still writing, a living, active, creative person in our world today. So thanks so much for listening. I will be back, and make sure you come tomorrow, because tomorrow we have a very special writer for day 10, February 10th. All right. See you then. Happy writing.